Intro goes hard. Is that good or bad? I can't tell. I can't tell if that is that good or bad. Intro goes hard. Yeah, don't have any idea. And this is not a bow tie. It's just part of this Oregon State shirt. I don't know why it looks like that. Who the hell knows? Hey, look at it. It's Timothy Cecil. Oh, it's good. Okay. Yeah, I like that music. It's pretty sweet. I mean, I had it. I had it for another show that I did with uh, chasing, and it was. But I was like, I want to use that music for my show, since we don't do that one. It's actually goes on and has some crappy. It's weird how these people they write songs and they have this really cool portion and then they screw it up later. You know, a little bit like "Golden Slumber" by the Beatles. You know, it's like it was really cool at the beginning and then it just goes yeah. But man, it's like 1,000,000 degrees over here. It's like 100 degrees. It seems like. Yeah. Anyways, we discussed the D4, David, whatever the hell you want to call it, case like back in right when it happened, but it wasn't one that really, I don't know, just isn't generally ones that I cover like that. But maybe it seems like a lot of people are interested in it, and I haven't looked at it for a long time, so maybe it'll be interesting now since they're doing a preliminary hearing. I thought we could look at this. The preliminary brief that came out. Lisa sent it to me, and then I found some, interesting. Uh, there's a breakdown of what they talked about today, and then another article that seemed pretty interesting, and then another video that talks about like what the preliminary hearing's about. Maybe people in the, as Lisa told me, in the Idaho case who don't seem to know what the hell a preliminary hearing is, might learn something. I mean, not the Idaho, the Charlie Kirk. Yeah, I mean, people just act like in the preliminary hearing you're supposed to put out every bit of information. Yeah. All right. So let's get started. And I guess we can this is just 9 pages long. You want me to, this is like the preliminary, looks like the brief for maybe the preliminary hearing, I guess. Anyways, it just has a kind of a breakdown of the information. You guys want me to go through that? I mean, I can probably just read it quick, but it's going to be me reading. All right. Yeah, and so while I'm reading, if you guys want to help support the channel, feel free to do so. We've had some really struggling days recently, so if you can, that'd be great. All right, anyways, it says the Honorable Judge, forget that part, right down here, the background. The dismembered body of 14-year-old Celeste R., the victim, was discovered in the front trunk of defendant Tesla model. This David Anthony Burke, that's this D4, the number 4VD guy. He owns a Tesla Model X, and they found it in the trunk of that vehicle on September 8th, 2025. The vehicle had been towed 3 days prior from 1405 Bluebird Avenue, which was parked approximately, I guess we could, might as well. Is that that's in Los Angeles area or what? Let me see. Maybe we can just throw that in there. Maybe when there's some addresses given out, I can throw it in. That way we can just get a picture of it. Well, this doesn't seem to be text, so let me do something. Let's see. Where is that? Yeah, there's scan in this file. Or enhance in this one. Okay, do it. It's going through. Now we can, cut and paste stuff if we need to. This took place in Los Angeles, though, right? Yeah. Okay, it's reading the pages now. Come on. Alright, there we go. Oh, it makes it harder. It's weird. The words are... Yeah, you can read it. It's not bad. Alright, so 1405 Bluebird Avenue. Hey, thanks, Allie Cake. So I guess right there. Right in this area. Like a nice, like a mansion almost. Alright, and so then it was the vehicle had been towed 3 days prior from that address, which was parked approximately 400 feet from defendant's home at 1368 Delaney Place. So that's where the vehicle was parked. So let me just say, put a pin there. Vehicle parked, and then the defendant lived at right over here. So he probably did something and just moved it away from his house. So he lived right there. Okay. Got it. Hey, thanks, Lisa and Haley. And it says surveillance video and other evidence confirmed defendant was the last person to drive the vehicle on July 29th. So he's the one, cameras showed that he drove it over to that house. I guess look at that. They darkened it out. I mean, not darkened it. But... Hey, thanks, Chris O'Connell. Really appreciate it. Thank you. And Haley and Lisa. Yeah, he doesn't sound like a genius. I mean, that's about as dumb as you... Yeah, hold on. This is perfect for this one.
The truth is, you're as dumb as they come.
There you go. Surveillance video and other evidence confirmed defendant was the last person to drive the vehicle on July 29th before he left Los Angeles on concert tour. On September 8th, 2025, the manager of the tow yard where the Tesla had been impounded noted the strong smell of decay and the presence of flies. So it was towed, let's see, front truck defendant's Tesla on September 8th. The vehicle had been towed 3 days prior, so on September 5th, it was towed. And then I guess just 3 days later, yeah, there you go. Then on the 8th, the tow truck driver noticed some smell coming out of the vehicle. He notified Los Angeles Police Department, Hollywood auto detectives who determined the Tesla was registered to the defendant through department resources. At the tow yard, LAPD detectives opened the Tesla front storage compartment and observed a black cadaver bag covered in insects. Gee. Inside the bag, they discovered a severely decomposed head and torso. A plastic garbage bag beneath the black cadaver bag contained the dismembered arms and legs. However, the victim's ring and pinky fingers on her left hand had been amputated and were not found. Probably there was maybe some rings that he had given her or something. Were not found in the Tesla. On September 16th, 2025, the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner Department positively identified the body from dental records as belonging to the victim. Pursuant to their investigation, LAPD robbery homicide detectives determined the victim and defendant met in January of 2022 when she was 11. Jeez. They began a sexual relationship in November of 2023 when the victim was 13 years old and the defendant was 18. Detectives learned the victim had been reported missing to Riverside County Sheriff's Department by her family, who live in Elsinore, in February and April. So, wow, that's like way before, 7 months or, I guess, 7 to 5 months earlier. Let's see then. RCSD telephonically contacted the defendant on February 17th, 2024, after they identified a phone number in the victim's phone records that belonged to him. So after they identified her, and then in her phone records, his name was in there. And then it said, let's see. After they identified a phone number in the victim's phone records that belonged to that David guy. During the call, defendant claimed he had spoken to the victim last February 13th or 14th, but stated he was unaware she was a minor or that she had been reported missing. RCSD advised him that Los Angeles Sheriff Department deputies would be coming to his home. On that day, the defendant was living at 804 North Doheny Place in West Hollywood. Now, so it started in... It's kind of interesting. Like if you go, let's see, it's 2020, September of 2025. And then, man, she was missing for that long? That's wild. Geez, like a year. That's ridiculous. I mean, was she alive and just not going home or what? So I guess this is where he was at this time. So let's see. On that day, but stated he was unaware she was a minor. Department deputies would be coming to his home. On that day, defendant was living at 804, in that address I just showed, 804 Doheny Place, to conduct a welfare check at the defendant's home. Okay. Man. So it's kind of confusing with all the dates, Conduct a welfare check at defendant's home. LASD deputies went to defendant's home that night at 8:15 p.m. and informed him the victim was 13-year-old runaway. Defendant again claimed he was unaware she was a minor, and he had only met the victim once in person in November of 2023. However, defendant showed deputies a yearbook of the victim he had on his cell phone, although he claimed to be unaware of where the victim was at the time. She returned home 2 days later. All right. I'm just trying to... It's kind of hard to just get that... No, I just did it one time a long time ago. Prior to her last disappearance? Okay. I can understand that. However, defendant showed deputies a yearbook photo of the victim. Let me go up here again. Let's see. Determined the victim and the defendant met in January 2022. They began a sexual relationship in November of 2023. And when the defendant was 18, detectives learned the victim had been reported missing to Riverside County Sheriff's Department by her family, who live in Elsinore, in February of 2024. RCSD telephone contact defendant on February 17, 2024, and after they identified a phone number in the victim's phone records that belonged to him. During the call, defendant claimed he had spoken to the victim last February 13th or 14th, but stated he was unaware she was a minor or that she had been reported missing. Man, did he like keep her in a refrigerator or something? I mean, that's pretty crazy. Hey, thanks for the penny there, Suni. Very kind of you. And hello up there to Lisa J. Carl with a C. And Davey Dave. And Allie Cake. And Lisa V. And I saw Chris O'Connell in there. And, yeah. All right. It says, despite being informed by law enforcement the victim was only 13, the defendant continued to pursue her. So, despite being informed by law enforcement the victim was only 13, defendant continued to pursue her. Huh. Well, when did they tell her? Hold on a second. I got to go back. This is weird. Yeah, so it's on the 25th is when her body, 2025 in September, her body's found in the vehicle. And then, I guess I don't, well, here, you know what we should do? Let me just do this. Hold on a second. I have this other document. It'd probably help to do this one instead. All right. It's not a document. It's an article, but all it is it's like the timeline. So this way I can just have it in my head instead of trying to reinvent a wheel that's already been out there. But hey guys, while I'm reading here, if you have the ability to help support the channel, we've really, I don't know, since the Heather Robinson preliminary hearing, we've just been struggling mightily. So if you guys have the ability to support the channel while we're doing this, that would be awesome. Thank you. Here's a look at the timeline. Okay, it's January 2022. David and Celeste first met with Celeste, and she's only 11 years old, according to court filings. Then on November 2023, David and Celeste allegedly began a sexual relationship when she was 13 years old. Then February of 2024, Celeste, a then 13-year-old 7th grader, is reported missing, so that's in February of 2024, by her family from Lake Elsinore home. And then on February 17th, 2024, the Riverside County Sheriff's Office reportedly calls David after they identified his phone number in Celeste's phone records. He allegedly tells deputies he last talked to Celeste on February 13th or 14th. And, it's interesting because she was reported missing in February. So he kind of puts himself right around that time. But he claims he didn't know she was a minor and didn't know she had been reported missing. Deputies then informed him that Los Angeles County Sheriff deputies would be visiting him at his home. This almost seems like it's right out of that document. At the time, he lived in West Hollywood. When deputies arrived at his home that same day, prosecutors say they again tell him that Celeste is 13 years old and a runaway. David allegedly tells them he was unaware of that and says he had only met her in person once in November of 2023. David reportedly tells deputies he didn't know where she was, but Celeste returns to her Lake Elsinore home 2 days after the conversation. We are following breaking news. A potential. So David reportedly tells deputy he didn't know where she was, but Celeste returns. Oh, interesting. So that means she was like being hidden in the background. But Celeste returns to her Lake Elsinore home 2 days after the conversation. So when she was missing, the cops, they apparently found that, I'm not sure, where they got the phone from, but they were able to get a hold of this David guy. And then after talking to him about, hey, where is she? Because she's missing since February. 2024, it seemed like. And then, so obviously he had her somewhere. And then after that, okay, go home, you know. That's crazy. And then, Celeste's family reportedly takes her cell phone away after she returns home from being reported missing. Hey, thanks, Haley. Prosecutors allege that David paid a junior high school student in Celeste's class $1,000 to give her a cell phone that had been purchased so they could keep talking. Celeste's family reportedly takes her cell phone away, and she returns home from being reported, after she returned home. And then prosecutors allege that David paid a junior high school student in Celeste's class $1,000 to give her a cell phone that he had purchased so they could keep talking. Wow, so he gave her $1,000 just to hand her the phone. The pair then spent a significant amount of time together. So they spent time together even though he knew she was 13. In 2024, including weekends at his home in Hollywood Hills and traveling to Las Vegas, London, and even to Texas to meet David's family, prosecutors say. Probably flew private jets, I would think. Even to Texas to meet David's family. Jeez. And then in April of 2024, Celeste is reported missing again by her family. And then September 7th, 2024, Celeste turns 14 years old. And then November of 2024, David and Celeste reportedly break up but continue to communicate. And prosecutors say their texts suggest they also continue to have a sexual relationship. Then on March 2025, prosecutors say a text sent from Celeste to David says, "All we do is have sex and just hang out, man. I want more than that for myself." So Celeste sent that to him. That's pretty grown up kind of thing to say, you know. Celeste was last known to be alive when she arrived at David's rented home in Hollywood Hills on April 23rd, 2025. So he just had this was just going on and on and on. And he kept being with her even though he knew cops were on to the fact that she was underage and with him. David allegedly sends an Uber to pick Celeste up from her Lake Elsinore home and bring her to the house at around 8:40 p.m. Celeste reportedly arrives at 10:10 p.m. I think this is basically the whole thing. Let's see. So David allegedly sends an Uber to pick Celeste up. This is on April 23rd from her Lake Elsinore home and bring her to his house at around 8:40 p.m. Celeste reportedly arrives at around 10:10 p.m. David reportedly texts her and asks where she is at 10:30 p.m. But prosecutors believe she was already dead at this time, and the texts were part of a premeditated plan to cover up her murder. So David reportedly texts her and asks where she is at 10:30. Yeah, and so she arrived at 10:10. So that means she's probably already dead at between 10:10 and 10:30. The prosecutors believe she was already dead by they just said that. And the texts were part of a premeditated plan to cover up her murder. So that means she was killed, though, between 10:10 and 10:30. Prosecutors allege that shortly after she arrived, David stabbed Celeste multiple times and watched her bleed to death. Wow, what a monster. David then leaves his home at around 11:30 p.m. and drives to an area near Lake Cachuma in Santa Barbara County, all while still texting and calling Celeste's phone, prosecutors say, to pretend that, she's still out there. Tickets for David's world tour go on pre-sale that same day. Then April 24th, 2025, David reportedly returns to his Hollywood Hills home after driving to Santa Barbara County. He allegedly sends 2 more texts to the teen's phone, but never attempts to contact her again after April 26th. David goes to a radio interview to promote his new album. This is on April 24th. Hey, thank you there, Sunny Ray. You know, we could really use a challenge or something in here, you guys. We haven't had a challenge in like 3 days, and in the last 4 days, we've only made it to a quarter of the goal, which is after all that good work we were doing at the beginning of the month, we just got back to a place where we're like similar to the previous months of where we didn't do well. So if you guys, again, have the ability to help support the channel, my channel is pretty much funded by the people watching who like the work that I do. I think I do a pretty good job, you know. Not sure what else I can do for you guys. David goes to a radio interview to promote his new album. David orders a shovel from Home Depot that is delivered to his home via Postmates, according to court documents. Then on April 25th, 2025, singer David releases his debut studio album, Withered. The music video for the song, One More Dance, depicts David placing a bloodied body into the trunk of a car. And on May 1st, 2025, prosecutors say David orders 2 chainsaws on Amazon that are delivered to his Hollywood Hills home. He allegedly made the purchase using a fake name. Yeah, so then he probably used the chainsaw to dismember. And May 5th, 2025, David orders a body bag, heavy-duty laundry bags, and a blue inflatable pool on Amazon, according to court documents. He reportedly uses the same fake name. Prosecutors believe Celeste's body was mutilated on May 5th. Her remains were dismembered. And I wonder where they kept her, you know, like in a refrigerator or something, or dismembered, and 2 of her fingers were never recovered, including one that prosecutors allege was tattooed with David's name. And then on May 8th, 2025, David allegedly returns to the same area in Santa Barbara County for a 3rd time. Hey, look at that. Whoa. That'd be a cool one. Crystal O'Connell said she'll match the donated memberships for the next hour. Oh, that's crazy. That'd be awesome. Thank you. But what that means is other people have to donate some channel memberships and see if we can get that. Uh-oh. There's Carl with the C jumps in with the... Oh, God. Oh, God. Here we go. He just said, any limit? All right. Well, anyways. So on May 31st, 2025, David allegedly returns to the same area in Santa Barbara County for a 3rd time. Okay, let me get to this part again. So on the 5th, he orders body bag, heavy-duty laundry bags, and a blue inflatable pool on Amazon, according to court documents. He reportedly used the same fake name. Prosecutors believe Celeste's body was mutilated on that same day, you know, because he got that chainsaw, but then you probably want the bags before you would do it. When did he order the chainsaw? Yeah, on the 1st. And then on the 5th, he got the bag, so I think he would have waited. That makes sense. And then on the 8th, David allegedly returns to the same area in Santa Barbara County. Wow, I guess there's no limit there, Carl. That's crazy. Hey, we got what do you mean, Alley Cake? Can 5 super chats count? I guess. I mean, you can just do memberships too, though, can't you? Because they're right there next to it. All right, and then on the 8th, David allegedly returns to the same area in Santa Barbara County. When you say same area, what are you talking about? Man, we got that cool challenge, and we haven't had one. Come on, you guys. David orders a body bag, heavy-duty laundry bag. I'm trying to figure out what they say. Returns to the same area in Santa Barbara County. Okay, let's see. David reportedly returns to his Hollywood home after driving to Santa Barbara County. He allegedly sends 2 more texts to the teen's phone, but never attempts to contact her again after April 26th. Okay. And then on the 8th, he drove back out to the same area. David allegedly returns to the same area in Santa Barbara County. Then on the 31st, so 3 weeks later, David allegedly returns to the same area in Santa Barbara County for a 3rd time. And then July 7th, 2025, David allegedly orders a burn cage on Amazon under the same fake name in a plan to incinerate evidence. David allegedly orders a burn cage on Amazon under the same fake name in a plan. There's a burn cage on Amazon under the same fake name and a plan to incinerate evidence. Wow. And then on the 29th of July, another 3 weeks later, David allegedly parks his Tesla on the Hollywood Hills street where it was later towed from. Why the hell did he do that, by the way? What an idiot. I mean, what a complete moron, Like you just put the prosecutors, you just drive it up the street. Yeah, here's a good spot. Let's see. Prosecutors allege he was the last person seen driving it, and surveillance video shows him driving the Tesla on that date. And by the way, thanks up there to Chris O'Connell and Haley, as in Haley's Comet. Wow, we're already ahead of yesterday. Isn't that amazing? And surveillance video shows him driving the Tesla on that date. Then September 7th, Celeste would have turned 15 years old. Then on September... Hey, there's... Hey, Jim, your favorite person's here. Horse teeth, cow teeth. Prosecutors state a 2023 Tesla Model Y registered to David at a Texas address tied to his family is towed from an upscale Hollywood Hills neighborhood where it appears abandoned. Yeah, so that would be... let's see. So right there, he put it there. He lives right here. And there's another house over here he's associated with. It was hard to sort of make out what... I think that was his parents' house or something. Thank you, horse teeth, cow teeth. Chris O'Connell again. South Texas guy. Chris O'Connell and Chris O'Connell. I wasn't looking at that. I don't even know if we need to read that. This is a really good timeline, Prosecutors state, so on September 8th, 2025, wait, let me get back. Where was I here? Burn cage. Okay, and then Celeste would have been 15 years old on September 7th, 2025. And then on September 8th, 2025, prosecutors state a 2023 Tesla Model Y registered to David at a Texas address tied to his family is towed from an upscale Hollywood Hills neighborhood where it appears abandoned. At a tow yard, LAPD investigators find a cadaver bag in the vehicle's front trunk, described in court documents as covered with insects, emitting a strong odor of decay. Detectives partially unzip the bag and observe a decomposed head and torso. The Los Angeles County Medical Examiner later determined the arms and legs have been severed. A second black bag beneath the first contains additional dismembered body parts. David is on tour at the time of the discovery. And on September 16th, 2025, the remains are identified as Celeste Rivas Hernandez from dental records belonging to the victim. Investigators say Celeste has an index finger tattoo reading "shh," similar to a tattoo David has. September 17, 2025, police execute a search warrant at Hollywood Hills home where David has been staying. I think that's that one that's the one that's right here. That home, I think. I'm not 100% certain, but it just seemed like that was similar to what we were reading. Thanks, Allie Cake and Chris O'Connell there. And I don't know why I keep popping back to that page. Okay, detectives are observed removing a computer and other items, according to law enforcement sources, from that home that he was staying. LAPD reportedly finds evidence inside the garage consistent with the dismemberment of Celeste's body. Samples tested positive for blood and matched the teen's DNA. Then what took him so long? You know, remember how long it took them to finally arrest this guy on this? It's crazy. And then September 19th, David cancels the remaining dates of his U.S. tour amid the escalating investigation. His Los Angeles concert and a scheduled appearance at the L.A. Grammy Museum are removed from venue websites. Eyewitness News learns David transfers ownership of his Texas homes to his mother in the prior month. Celeste's body is officially released to her family for memorial services. September 29th, that was September 25th, September 29th. Celeste's death certificate is released, listing the cause of death as undetermined. Sources tell ABC News that is due to the advanced decomposition and dismemberment of her remains. Law enforcement sources tell Eyewitness News that David is now considered a suspect. Sources say he is not cooperating with investigators despite statements from his PR representatives. Investigators believe the death is a homicide that occurred earlier in the year, though the cause of death remains undetermined. Hey, what time did you start your challenge, Chris O'Connell? I wasn't even paying attention. Investigators believe the death is a homicide that occurred earlier in the year, though the cause of death remains undetermined. They later determined she was stabbed, right? The medical examiner rules Celeste's death a homicide caused by 2 penetrating injuries to the torso. The autopsy report is not immediately released to the public. So that was on November 18th, and then December 9th is when he determined that. Then January 15th, David's parents, Colleen and this year, are subpoenaed to testify before a Los Angeles grand jury regarding Celeste's death. Celeste's passport card is found by a Caltrans worker off SR 154 in Santa Barbara County, the same area where David had previously visited, according to prosecutors. Celeste's passport card is found by... Wow. Oh, that's crazy. So her own passport was found near that place in Santa Barbara where he went. You know, I'm not really sure what he was doing there, out in Santa Barbara, but because is that just where he did the cutting and like in the woods or something? Or the Burke family challenges the subpoena in Texas, arguing they are denied due process. A Texas appeals court denies the family petition requiring them to comply. Oh. Chris O'Connell said, "I'm calling it another half hour at least. I'm waiting for Carl with a C to throw down." I don't know. He sort of disappeared after that. I don't know. But that'd be awesome if you guys... Anyways, I appreciate any support you guys can give. But for any of those out there, if you could help support the channel during this time, we have Chris O'Connell that's matching everybody. Celeste's passport card is found by Caltrans worker off SR 154. Where's that? And where's... Okay, wow, so that's just right down here. You know, where exactly that is, I don't know, but it's kind of, desolate. There isn't really a lot of places right around there. Yeah, so why didn't they arrest him immediately when they found the dismemberment stuff in his garage? So I don't know what they were doing out here. Well, thanks, Jess. Yeah, some people actually like my show. It's weird. February 12th, the Burke family challenged the subpoena in Texas, arguing they are denied due process. Then February 13th, a Texas appeals court denies the family petition requiring them to comply. Then on February 25th, 2026, Eyewitness News obtains Texas court document stating David is the main suspect. In the filing, David Burke is labeled a target with allegations including 1 count of murder. Documents again detail the dismemberment with body parts found in 2 bags in the vehicle's front trunk. The family attorney says they are still fighting the grand jury. Maybe they just had her body somewhere, like hidden, and then picked her up and then dismembered her in the garage and then parked the car around the corner there. The family attorneys say they're still fighting the grand jury appearance. April 16th, David is arrested in connection with the murder of Celeste Rivas Hernandez. He is arrested at 5 p.m. at a Hollywood Hills residence and booked at 11:12 p.m. Pacific time at LAPD 77th Street Station. He is held without bail. Booking records list him as 5 feet 5 inches, 125 pounds. April 17th, ABC News learns through investigative sources that the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner rules Celeste's death a homicide. The manner of death remains unknown. Sources reiterate that the body is dismembered and stored in 2 bags and placed in the Tesla's front trunk. Severe decomposition from summer heat hinders the determination of a specific cause. April 20th, David is formally charged with first-degree murder. He makes his first court appearance and pleads not guilty. He remains in custody with no bail. Los Angeles District Attorney Nathan Hokum alleges David had a long-term sexual relationship with the underage girl while he was an adult. April 21st, Celeste's family makes their first public statement through their attorney. They describe her as a beautiful, strong girl who loved to sing and dance. We miss her deeply, her parents said. April 22nd, the medical examiner's office officially releases its report naming Celeste's cause of death multiple penetrating injuries. The report also shows there were presumptive positive for benzodiazepines or methamphetamine in her system. Oh, benzodiazepines. I think I was close. Yeah, I'm not sure what happened to your buddy Carl with the C. April 23rd, David returns to court for a hearing where he appeared in handcuffs wearing an orange jumpsuit. Prosecutors claim a significant amount of child pornography was found in the singer's cell phone. Prosecutors say lengthy investigation by LAPD and DA's office resulted in gathering more than 40 terabytes of data. And then April 29th, David returns to court and a legal brief is released painting a gruesome picture of the case prosecutors are building against the singer. The date of his preliminary hearing is moved to May 12th. I'm laughing at Chris O'Connell saying, I'll wait for him. Yeah, this guy is, it's like he's a predator. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, what the hell was he? I mean, it's kind of a weird version of a predator too, though, right? Like flying her around all these different countries, having her meet his parents. I wonder. I remember at the beginning, I thought maybe she was pregnant or something, and he didn't want to deal with that. An updated death certificate for Celeste states it's unclear whether the teen. Oh, that's the next sentence. That's so funny. I was pregnant in the year before she died. An attorney for Celeste's family shares a new statement addressing the recent developments. And then May 12th, at a brief status conference, a judge pushes the state date for a preliminary hearing for David. The hearing was scheduled to start on May 26th, but the start date has now been moved to June 29th. Yeah, so it actually got delayed again, obviously, then. The Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office says it needs more time due to the large amount of evidence. So, wow, usually it's the defense saying that. June 17th, at another brief status conference, the start date for David's preliminary hearing is pushed back to July 21st. And that's the date that it happened. But hey, guys, we have this standing challenge up there by Chris O'Connell for an hour. If you guys send in, gifted memberships or super chats, she'll match them. So it's 2 for 1 on your end, and it helps support the channel. Has she always lived in Los Angeles? I don't remember that. July 17th, a song purportedly by David, briefly appears on Spotify before being removed from the platform after about 8 hours. The track titled something seen remained visible on David's Spotify page, but was no longer playable after it was taken down. Artwork accompanying the track showed David taking what appeared to be a mirror selfie. Was he not in jail during this time? Like, was he allowed to just hang out? It's crazy. Here, I'll have to rob Peter to pay Paul, you guys. I'm not sure. Here, I'm just going to give one. See if we can get things moving along here. Yeah, this is about the only chance we're going to have to reach a goal. It's been a long time. So that's about it right there. There you go. And then, I guess right now would be a good time to play, like, the prosecutors before their preliminary hearing today. They said, let's see.
Good afternoon. My name is Nathan Hockman. I'm the Los Angeles County District Attorney. Today starts the day of the preliminary hearing of David Anthony Burke, the singer David, spelled D4VD. This preliminary hearing will last approximately 3 to 5 days, at which point
we
will be seeking to hold David to answer for 3 felony counts of which he has been charged. First-degree murder with special circumstances, the count of lewd and lascivious acts with a 13-year-old, and the count of mutilation of human remains. David will be facing a maximum punishment of life without the possibility of parole, or he is also death penalty eligible. The decision on whether or not to seek the death penalty has not been made at this point. Now, the point of a preliminary hearing is somewhat different than you actually perceive in the media, whether it's TV or the movies. Because what often happens in TV or the movies is you go from an immediate arrest into a trial. But in our system and in California in particular, you have an intermediate step. That intermediate step is a preliminary hearing where effectively the prosecution's evidence is going to be tested before a judge, not a jury. The standard that we have to meet is not beyond a reasonable doubt at the preliminary hearing stage.
Did you hear that graph?
It is probable cause.
Right.
We are not obligated, nor will we be presenting all the evidence at a preliminary hearing that we will be presenting at a trial to prove David beyond a reasonable doubt guilty of the 3 felony charges of which he has been charged. So at the preliminary hearing, we will call a number of officers. We estimate there will be over 10 different witnesses, both officer testimony, coroner testimony, and there will be individual witnesses as well. And again, we can rely on hearsay and other things that won't be allowed to be relied on in an actual trial. The judge at the end of the presentation of the evidence, and again, this is evidence that can be cross-examined by a defense attorney, and that process has already been begun. At the end of the presentation of all this,
it means that I'm sending in my own money just to get the matching because other people aren't doing it. That's what it means. Elena.
Evidence, the question will be, will David be held to answer on the 3 felony charges? We believe we will more than accomplish the evidentiary burden of probable cause at this point to hold David to answer on these 3 felony charges. At that point, if the judge does hold him to answer, we will file an information that will detail the actual 3 criminal charges. Thereafter, there will be a trial date that will be set, and David, if he so chooses, will proceed to trial. And we will prove at that point, beyond a reasonable doubt, that David committed these 3 crimes. And when, and we do not predict if, when he is convicted, We will then be seeking the sentence that we are allowed to seek by order of the law, and we will let you know in a future date whether or not that sentence will also include the death penalty. So I wanted to take this opportunity as we're starting this preliminary hearing process to explain where the preliminary hearing fits in the process so people can understand as we are presenting evidence and it is being cross-examined what ultimately the standard is for the judge to determine, and that's probable cause, not beyond a reasonable doubt. That is a judge that is doing this determination, not a jury at this point, and that there will subsequently be a trial when the judge holds David to answer on these 3 felony charges. When this preliminary hearing is over, I will come back to address you, and at that point, I will take questions. Thank you very much.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, Chris O'Connell said, I'm extending my challenge until 7:30. So that means she'll match anything that anybody does to support the channel, you guys. But she then says, but my challenge extends the rest of the show for Carl with a C. I don't know. I don't know. He just kind of disappeared right after that. You guys originally communicated. What state line did he take her across? You mean when he took her to his parents' house or something? Or I don't think he took her out across state lines after he killed her or anything like that. But yeah, you guys, we have this great opportunity here with Chris O'Connell, you guys. So please consider, supporting the channel maybe more than you normally would, just so we can, you can double up. And we've really had some really, really bad days lately. So there you go. That's exactly right. So probable cause is just a hearing to show a judge, hey, look, we got information here. It's more likely than not that he did it. But Tony Graff, I don't think he understands this. He's kind of dumb. I don't know, man. I don't know what he was doing during the Tyler Robinson case. It's pretty crazy. All right, so now there was a day 1 of the preliminary hearing. Yeah, right here, so maybe we can just read through that.
We begin with breaking news. Graphic evidence revealed.
I'm just going to go read this, but anyways, I got to use the restroom, so I'll be back in a minute. am I supposed to keep repeating what your challenge is? Or do you guys all know what it is in there? We hardly ever get opportunities like this, so if you guys have the ability to support the channel, they'll all be matched. So I'd appreciate it. Hey, look at that. There's one by Honeybee Fly. Thank you. I'm just not sure what I'm supposed to be doing here. I'm trying to... That's just odd. Weird situation. All right, here's the hearing here. A preliminary hearing began Tuesday for David, D4VD, or David Anthony Burke, known professionally as the singer David, who faces charges in the murder of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Prosecutors allege the rising star killed the teenager to protect his career after she threatened to expose their illegal sexual relationship the same week his debut album, Withered, was released. The singer and his legal defense team have maintained his innocence. Wonder where they got that information from. I mean, if she was pregnant, too, that would be something. But what we know, legal experts expect the preliminary hearing to last for an estimated 3 days. At its conclusion, a judge will determine if there's enough evidence for a singer. You mean they're not going to ask for briefs and then wait a month and a half? Yeah. If convicted on all counts, Burke faces the death penalty or life in prison without the possibility of parole. Los Angeles County District Attorney Nathan Hochman stated that a decision on whether prosecutors will seek the death penalty will be made at a later date. All right, so this is from today. Details from inside the courtroom. Christina Gonzalez was inside the courtroom and reported that Rivas Hernandez's parents, Jesus and Mercedes Martinez, were in attendance. They were asked if they would like to leave before the detective's testimony, but both opted to stay. Wow. Hey, thanks so much there, Haley, as in Haley's comment. Anyways, thank you. That was very kind of you there. Thank you so much. And thanks, Chris O'Connell, for doing this. I appreciate it. That was very, very kind of you there. Thank you. Both of you. And Chris O'Connell, thanks. I don't know what else to... it's so generous of you to do something like this, because we've just absolutely... I'm not sure what happened. I think people... Most freaks aren't interested in that nurse missing mystery, I don't know why. Yeah, maybe text messages. During the testimony, LAPD robbery homicide detective Josh Byers described the severe decomposition and heavy stench of the body where it was found inside the impounded Tesla on September 8th. He also detailed that fingers were severed from Rivas Hernandez's hand. As graphic evidence photos emerged inside the courtroom, including images of a hand missing fingers and tattoos on her right index finger, a spectator had to fan the victim's mother because it appeared she was going to faint. Well, you'd think so, but that wasn't the case last night, Chris O'Connell. I mean, it was the exact opposite of that. It was in 2 nights in a row. I was trying to do shows where I didn't say anything, and I just did my show, and it just absolutely collapsed. I mean, it was, you know. Anyways, Gonzalez noted that Burke had no reaction and remained nonchalant. But I wish it was like that, for sure. As the photos were presented, the defense received permission that Burke had no reaction. Okay, yeah. No reaction and remained nonchalant as the photos were presented. The defense received permission to have his hands free, but he remained shackled to a chair. Photos taken during Burke's April 16, 2026 booking were also presented as exhibits showing markings on the singer, including a tattoo of the name Celeste on his left ring finger, a sh tattoo on his right index finger, and a religious symbol on his palm. Also on Tuesday, body camera video from February 17th was presented in court. In the video, sheriff deputy was called to a Hollywood Hills home regarding a missing person report out of Riverside County. Burke claimed to the deputies that he'd only met the teen once at the beach after meeting on social media via Discord from 2020 to 2021. Burke claims Celeste told him she was 18 as deputies presented her yearbook photos to him. At the time, she was 13 years old. Yeah, tonight's a good one, Chris O'Connell. And thanks for you're the one that spearheaded the whole thing. I'm not sure where your partner in crime disappeared to, but thanks, you guys. Making it a better day, anyways. Huh. So investigators also presented evidence found inside the garage of Burke's home that matched receipts for online and retail purchases made using aliases including Travion Davis and Victoria Mendez. Evidence detailed a paper trail surrounding the time of the alleged murder. April 24th, receipts showed a shovel delivered via Postmates, a blue inflatable pool. So that must be where they did all that. Isn't that crazy? Like they put her in one of those inflatable pools. You know, it was like the inflatable. How will you take his place? You'll donate something and say, "Here, I'm matching that." That's funny. You know, I wasn't really thinking about that earlier, but he bought that inflatable blue pool to, like, that's where he cut her up so that blood wouldn't get all over the place. Isn't that crazy? That has to be why he did that. He cut her up while he had her in that pool. It would seem like, anyways, wouldn't you think? Wow, inflatable pool. Fireproof floor mats from Amazon. What do you guys think he was doing with that pool? Because, I mean, it was in the garage, but so maybe the pool was set up in that garage. You know, they're not that big. Man, this is crazy. Fireproof. Let's see. So we got fireproof floor mats from Amazon. A Makita chainsaw from Home Depot. So it looks like an electric chainsaw. Maybe. It looks like it's electric. From Home Depot, which was never recovered, and a Lowe's mop Probably threw it in some random, river or a dumpster somewhere. And a Lowe's mop cleaning system matching one recovered in Burke's garage. A burn box and navigation records. An unopened burn box incinerator was found hidden behind a piano in the home. Burn box and what the hell is a burn box incinerator? Burn box incinerator. Oh, like that. Huh. So sort of like something. Something like that. And then it was behind the piano, huh? Hidden behind a piano in his home. Digital forensic also showed Burke's iPhone, named Tranquilizer, was last connected to the Tesla system on July 29, 2025. The same day, store receipts and video show him driving the vehicle before parking it near his home on Bluebird Avenue and walking back via an alley. Let's see. Which one was the... Is this Bluebird? Okay. Well, wait a minute. He doesn't live on Bluebird, though. He lives over here. What were they just saying there? A shovel delivered via Postmates, a blue inflatable... Okay, that's not where I was at. I was... near his home on Bluebird Avenue and walk back. Huh. Well, that's weird because his home isn't listed as... I mean, in that first document, his home was right here. Which isn't Bluebird. It's Vireo Drive, but Bluebird is where the vehicle was left. At least it said that in that document. I don't know if that was an error. Let's see. All right, let's go on to the next one. And then defense questions evidence handling. Yeah, of course, yeah. During Tuesday's cross-examination, Burke defense attorney questioned how investigators process the evidence and challenge their protocols and timeline. By the way, where's the alley here? Where would there be one? If he's right there. I don't know. Doesn't even look like there's alleys around here. Multiple responding units. The defense pointed out that 3 different law enforcement departments, Hollywood PD, West Bureau, and Robbery Homicide, responded before criminalists arrived to process the scene. Preservation of evidence. The defense questioned why the cadaver bag containing the torso and head was not taken as evidence or tested for DNA before being destroyed. The cadaver bag containing the torso and the head was not taken to evidence before being destroyed. Detectives testified it was too damaged to preserve beyond removing the handles and zipper. Seen in log and testing. The defense pressed detectives on why no official scene sign in logs was kept for officers entering the house why the outside of the burn box and vehicle were not tested, and why 2 chainsaws found in the house were not kept for DNA analysis after initial luminescence. Jesus. Luminescence. Man, say that 3 times fast. That's right up there with hyoid bone. Hyoid bone. All right, so that's my thing. For those that are new here, say hyoid bone 3 times fast. And if you say you did it, you're lying. Okay. That's not cool, Gray. I'm a linguistics expert, and I really did. I said it. Okay, get it the hell. Yeah, there's no way, man. I don't give a damn. When I say fast, I mean fast. Boing, doing. Yeah, I go hyoid boing, hyoid boing, hyoid boing, hyoid bone, hyoid. It actually hurts my brain, you know, to try to do it because I know what I'm supposed to say, but I can't do it. All right, you guys, you got 12 more minutes out there on Chris O'Connell's challenge, you guys. So if anybody else out there wants to help support the channel, she'll match anything because she's a very kind person. So, I mean, she really helps the channel out a lot when she can. I mean, you know, she's not here every single day or anything like that, but when she can, she does, and appreciate that. And so she has a challenge out there saying that she'll match anything that you know, you guys send in during the next 11 minutes. Yeah, so anyways, this is just the classic. Let's see what it says about this. And why 2 chainsaws found in the house were not kept. And then it says, the defense also presented an image of a blue iPhone 15 found at the residence, asserting it may have belonged to the victim and contained materials not belonging to Burke. Prosecutors called Benjamin Gregor, Burke's financial manager and owner of music management practice, to establish that Burke had a massive financial motive to protect his career. Gregor testified that Burke generated between $10 million and $11 million between 2023 and 2025 through merchandising and music publishing advances. During questioning, prosecutors highlighted that Gregor's own income and bonuses were tied heavily to Burke, suggesting bias. Gregor also admitted that that key associates, including Burke's mother, began using encrypted messaging applications after the victim's remains were discovered in September 2025 to avoid leaks to the media. Hey, thanks again there, Haley. Yeah, I know. Isn't that crazy? You make $10 million a year and you're out there just, what a lunatic. And he made that money during the time that he was hanging out with her. I mean, wouldn't he just say, hey, you know what? You know what I think probably is the case? There was probably a time where he wanted to stop it, but then he realized he needs to keep her on the hook. Because if he says one day, hey, you know, I just don't think this is right, you know, she might tell somebody. So he tried to keep her completely under his grasp the whole time. Like, I think that's what it sort of sounds like too. You know, when she would disappear, he'd have her over at his house the whole time. And then it just got to a point where, like, it sounded like she was going to say something or leave, and then he just couldn't have that. Before, he was controlling her. Well, that's what the motive is. Right there. Apparently she was going to come forward. Hey, thanks, Chris O'Connell. Apparently she was going to she was going to come forward and say that it was underage. I bet that's exactly what it was right there. Yeah. And so that whole time, like during 2023 when he took off, he couldn't afford to not still be controlling her because she would have said something. Don't you guys agree with that? So he's still going to be like, hey, come over, and just kind of kept her on the hook. And remember that one sentence where she said, it seems like you just want me for sex. And I think he was using sex to control, as if that was the love, right? And so he just wanted to keep her around. He couldn't afford to just sort of break it off with her because she would say something and then all of his career would disappear. So then he decides, okay, I'll keep stringing her along. I'll string her along. And then when she got a little older, she had some, of her own courage and said, hey, I'm going to tell people about this if you do. And then that was right there was enough for him to do that. I think that's kind of how his mind was. Gregor testified that Burke generated $10 million to $11 million between 2023 and 2025 through merchandising and music publishing advances. During questioning, prosecutors highlighted that Gregor's own income and bonuses were tied heavily to Burke, suggesting bias. Gregor also admitted that key associates, including Burke's mother, began using encrypted messaging applications after the victim's remains were discovered September 2025. All right, guys, only 6 more minutes. 6 more minutes. And then what they're saying. Los Angeles County District Attorney Nathan Hochman made a brief appearance during recess on the first day of the hearing. The standard that we have to meet is not beyond a reasonable doubt. Okay, that's what we just watched. The standard that we have to meet is not beyond a reasonable doubt at a preliminary hearing stage. It's probable cause. We are not obligated, nor will we be presenting. Man, will we be? God, try to say that one 3 times fast. Will we be Will we be presenting all the evidence at a preliminary hearing that we will be presenting at a trial to prove David beyond a reasonable doubt guilty of the 3 felony charges of which he has been charged? And then he went on to say, we believe we have enough and we can do it. Now, in the Idaho case, they said the same thing and they got sanctioned for it. Let's see. TMZ Charles said during an appearance on Good Day LA that Burke's attorney asked that they requested for the removal of his handcuffs in court. She does not feel it necessary. He's had 5 hearings already. He has never in the time since been arrested, ever attempted to escape, he explained. Officials have released disturbing details in the case, and he expects more details to emerge during the hearing. All right, we got 4 more minutes on the clock of Chris O'Connell's amazing challenge. There are a lot of DNA evidence that shows, in particular at his home, he said. There were burn boxes that were purchased. So all of these things and that poo, I'm not sure what that, and that pool is probably what it meant to say. There were bits of it, according to the medical examiner. There were bits of it, including in the body parts that were found in David's Tesla. So they believe what happened is that he dismembered her and put the remains in this kiddie pool in the garage. There you go. See, I said that. The kiddie pool in the garage. So this is really telling you hey, thanks, Honeybee Fly. Hey, thanks, Chris O'Connell, Honeybee Fly. Chris O'Connell, Phyllis Watson, Allie Cake. Uh-oh. Yeah. Thank you, Chris O'Connell. And thanks for the nice comment there, Honeybee Fly. Wow. So just listen to this, you guys. It kind of matches what I was saying about the pool in the garage. See how you just use logic, reason, and common sense, and you can sort of put it together? So all of these things, and the pool, there were bits of it. According to the medical examiner, there were bits of it included in the body parts that were found in David's Tesla. So they believe what happened is that he dismembered her and put the remains in the kiddie pool in his garage to prevent the blood from getting all over the garage. They found evidence of that in the remains, so that is a very strong piece of evidence. And thanks up there to Phyllis Watson. How's it going, Phyllis? Oh, and thank you to Jessica on Venmo with the 20. Thank you. Appreciate that. So they believe what happened is that he dismembered her and put the remains in the kiddie pool in the garage to prevent the blood from getting all over the garage. They found evidence of that in the remains. So that is a very strong piece of evidence. Criminal defense attorney Mark Garagos said the defense could possibly use Robert Durst-style defense. Robert Durst was acquitted because his defense was that basically the death was caused by self-defense and all the gruesome cutting and dismemberment took place afterward. Okay, jeez. Really? Like a 15-year-old girl or 14-year-old's gonna, or I think maybe, yeah, 14. I don't know. What was she old at the time? Like 15 when she died? So God only knows if that's what the evidence would show here, and she died. We got 1 minute left, you guys. Those are hard facts to deal with when you've got saws and you've gotten purported cleanup area, things of that. But if all of that was to dispose of a body, I know that's kind of a gruesome thought, but that still does not make it a murder, if that is the case. Huh. Thank you, Chris O'Connell. Yeah, it's just amazing. Helps out a little bit, probably from, I don't know, maybe a little bit of yesterday. Yesterday it was just, it was wild. Yeah. On September 8, 2025, the remains. So here's the backstory in this article, and we'll just go through it again so it's kind of more ingrained in us. All right. Oh, we'll do the updates of the preliminary hearing here. Okay. Thanks, Jim Long and Chris O'Connell. On September 8, 2025, the remains of Rivas Hernandez were discovered inside a Tesla registered to the singer at a Hollywood tow yard. Investigators said the vehicle had been impounded after it was illegally parked in the Hollywood Hills where Burke was renting a home. Prior to the discovery, the family of Rivas Hernandez had reported her missing multiple times from her hometown of Lake Elsinore, located roughly 70 miles from Los Angeles in Riverside County, beginning in February of 2024. Prosecutors previously stated in court that the teenager's body was so severely decomposed that the medical examiner had to rely on dental records for identification. According to an autopsy report from Los Angeles, County Medical Examiner's Office, Rivas Hernandez, cause of death was ruled a homicide caused by multiple penetrating injuries with unspecified objects. Investigators determined she was killed on April 23rd, 2025. Nearly a year later, Burke was arrested and subsequently charged with first-degree murder, continuous sexual abuse of a child under 14, and unlawful mutilation of human remains. The criminal complaint also includes special circumstance allegations of murder of a witness, murder for financial gain, and lying in wait. That's crazy. I guess our buddy Carl with the C didn't. He came in, but he must have had to go do something. Took off. Going to the bars. Oh, good luck, Jim. Have fun out there. And thanks for all you guys that during her challenge reign, her challenge there to support the channel, and then she matched all of you guys. So thank you. And by she, I mean Chris O'Connell. Yeah, she's the legendary Chris O'Connell. That's how you say it. All right, the timeline. So the quick timeline is February 17th, 2024. Deputies conduct a welfare check during which Burke is informed that Rivas... Every time I hear Burke, I keep thinking of the movie Aliens. You know, with the second one. Because that's the name of the guy, the sort of slimeball guy that was trying to, trick Ripley into, going back with being impregnated by an alien. All right. Deputies conduct a welfare check during which Burke is informed that Rivas Hernandez is only 13 years old. So that's February 17th. Then in April, just, a couple months later, Rivas Hernandez is reported missing for a second time. All right. See, he needs to, this is, it's weird. It's kind of like Stephen Stearns, Once he lost the control, that's when Stephen Stearns killed, right? Madeline Soto. But in this case, you see, look at it in February. He goes over there, and then he sort of wants to keep controlling the story. He doesn't want her to be telling too much. So he quickly gets in touch with her again and has her run away to his, again, in April. Then April 22nd, so a year later, Rivas Hernandez allegedly threatens to expose relationship during an argument. Right? And see, that might be the same thing as in the Stephen Stearns situation. April 23rd, 2025, investigators believe Rivas Hernandez is murdered on this same day. So the day that she, the next day after she threatened to expose their relationship, now he can't keep controlling the situation anymore. Right, that's what this one feels like right here. It's almost the same thing.
Chewbacca?
Yeah, that's true. I wasn't able to sleep very good last night. I haven't been able to sleep good for like a week. It's just been horrendous. I don't know what the hell happened. I'm still working the same hard, same shows, everything. Although I am able to get to sleep. I'm watching this show called, let's see, The Capture or something like that. It's pretty cool. It's like a Britain show about surveillance, how they can manipulate it live sometimes, or they can alter surveillance. It's called correction, where like this in That one scene, for example, this soldier is, he was accused of something and his attorney's got him off. So he walks, he was kind of attracted to the attorney, and they're walking, they kiss, and then she gets on a bus and takes off. But right when the bus goes by, live, they were able to change it to where he then grabs her back and then kills her, and she disappears, right? But that was actually by a different group that did that. I mean, it was just it's so weird, the whole show. It's wild. Yeah, it's weird though. I wonder where Carl with the C went. You guys were. I was like, oh my God, they're gonna do some crazy stuff, and he just went poof. Don't forget to hit the like button. But you guys made up for all that. You guys did, got to, made up some of last night. I mean, it's been a good night. It's been one of the best one since in about 9 days or something. So thank you. Anyway, so she was killed on April 23rd. April 24th, Burke allegedly orders a shovel via Postmates. And then, I wonder why he cut her up, though. I don't really get it. I mean, he's like he got panicky and started doing weird stuff. Wild Bill Wassman. What the heck? Chris O'Connell. Holy shit. There it is. That's one of the Carl with the C types. Hey, we got Wild Bill Wassman said, evening freaks, I'm sick as a dog last night and today probably caught something. Fishing convention. Hope you're all doing good. I'll be back hopefully tomorrow. Okay. It's not like your electrolyte thing though, Wild Bill, right? It's just literally like you got something. I'd rather have you actually catch something than have that other thing that you had before. That thing. That one sucked. Hope you feel better. Hey, thanks, Roger Smith. But look at Chris O'Connell. We got it filled up with new freaks in here, you guys. New freaks.
I'm behind, but trying to catch up. Best YouTube channel there is. Thanks for the hard work.
Do you guys see that? Is it not visible to you guys? The 20 memberships that she just... That's crazy. Thank you. I'm behind, but trying to catch up. Best YouTube channel there is. Some people say that, I always think that I think through it better than most people do, but people don't like that. They just sort of like to be just sort of, everything goes, everything's great. Yeah. Yeah, she needs a vacation. Here is a sleeping pill for Gray. Yeah. Not sure what happened. He probably had to go do something. Wow, thanks. Wild Bill Wassman. That was really cool. Thank you. Yeah. So she was killed on April 23rd, 2025. Next day he orders a shovel. Then the day after that, he debuts an album. Can't have her around screwing it up for him, right? And then a week after that, he uses an alias and gets a chainsaw. So that means she was probably put into a refrigerator, kept somewhere. I don't know I don't know where she was after that. Does anybody actually know the answer to that? Where she was from April 25th until the chainsaw showed up? Was she in a freezer? And then, so that was May 1st through the 5th. Hey, thanks, Chris O'Connell. And Wild Bill Wassman. So let's see. Required a chainsaw and a body bag. Why do they say May 1st through 5th? So I guess he bought all these things. He bought the chainsaws, not just one. So there might have been somebody else that was helping, I guess. A body bag and an inflatable pool. You know what you'd think? Wouldn't Amazon want to flag something like that? I mean, I'm just saying, yeah, hey, Amazon, let me just say something to you, Amazon. If somebody orders, within a couple days of each other, a body bag and a chainsaw, just those two together, isn't that where you might get a hold of somebody? I mean, I don't know a lot of people who buy a body bag and a chainsaw on Amazon together, Hey, you too. Wild Bill Wassman. Drinks a lot of liquids. I know. And then there's a pool too. I mean, a little plastic area, almost like a portable, like Dexter, how he put plastic all over everything. Well, you'd think they would put that in there. I mean, that's kind of strange, right? And then July 7th, Burke allegedly orders a burn cage. So was he going to try to... Maybe that's where he burned the fingers, maybe? I don't know. And then September 8th, like months after that, the teenager's remains are discovered inside a Tesla. I mean, what in the hell was she... Where was she this whole time? I mean, July, and then almost all of July. Well... No, I mean, she died on April, right? So September, 5 months later, I mean, I think decomposition is already gone at that point. I think she was frozen and put inside of a freezer of some sort and then thawed out, and then this is what happened. I don't know what the hell. 5 months doesn't make any sense. So her remains were discovered inside of a Tesla at Hollywood Tow Yard. I bet they have one of those big kind of freezers that are on the ground, those bigger ones, and they kept her in there after they killed her until they got the chainsaws. And that's why they got the chainsaws, is because she was frozen in a way where she was hard to move around, and then just use the chainsaw, and then and then I guess just put her parts in the pool, and then they thawed out, and then I don't know what these guys are sick. And then the teenager's remains are discovered on September 8th, and then April 17th, Burke is arrested on suspicion of murder. Graphic dismemberment details are revealed during a preliminary court hearing. That was April 29th. Huh. So they had another preliminary hearing. A major court date is postponed to allow the defense team additional time to review evidence. July 7, 2026, both the prosecution and defense state they are ready to move forward with the case. The other side, Burke pleaded not guilty to all charges, and his legal team maintains his innocence, of course. What defense attorney would go, no, I think he's guilty, we're just going to defend him anyways? Yeah, we think he's guilty as hell. I mean, it's ridiculous. The actual evidence in this case will show that David Burke did not murder Celeste Rivas Hernandez, and he was not the cause of her death. Right. So she fell on a knife? Is that what you're going to say? Or former federal prosecutor Neema Ramani said he expects the judge to find probable cause because of the relatively low legal standard. Right. You know, I mean, the standard that Judge Graff ignored in the Tyler Robinson case. At a preliminary hearing, but said the proceeding remains important for the defense because it provides an opportunity to preview the prosecution's case and cross-examine law enforcement witnesses before trial. Romani also said the defense may argue that someone else in Burke's inner circle was responsible for Rivas Hernandez's death, but believes that that will be a difficult argument given the prosecution's alleged motive that she threatened to expose the relationship and damage Burke's music career. All right. Well, we'll go over the day 2 tomorrow if you guys want to. Yeah, I mean, now it's kind of interesting, you know, now that all the parts are together. For a long time when it was just like, jeez. I mean, it's so obvious that he was part of it. You know, he was absolutely should have been arrested a long time before he got arrested. But that's when you get the big bucks like that, you can pay for a lawyer to keep you out of a jam sometimes. Yeah, maybe you needed two, right? Gives a new meaning to ice. Yeah. Just like those are like two different quote marks, like a different style on one of them. Yeah. At first I just remember going, oh yeah, well of course this guy did it. I mean, but the problem is it was so obvious that it seemed like maybe there's something else going on. But no, it turns out that it was so obvious because he's an idiot. It's crazy. All right. I wonder if there's anything in here. Horrifying measures. Moreover, defendant took horrifying measures to destroy and discard the victim's body. After placing her body into the blue inflatable pool to prevent her blood from spilling onto his garage floor, the defendant used a chainsaw and perhaps other tools. Let me go up here and see if they explain. Okay, Tellingly, defendant subsequently purchased tools to carry out his plot to dismember and dispose of the victim's body. On April 24, 2025, the defendant ordered a shovel from Home Depot that was delivered to his home from Postmates. On May 1st, 2025, the defendant ordered and subsequently Amazon delivered 2 chainsaws to his home. On May 5th, 2025, the defendant ordered an Amazon subsequently delivered a body bag, heavy-duty laundry bags, and a blue inflatable pool to his home. He made these purchases under the fake name Victoria Mendez. On May 8, 2025, the defendant returned to the same area in Santa Barbara County, leaving his home at around 11:30 p.m. He returned to the area again on May 31st, 2025. This is an isolated site off of SR 154 where the victim's identification, that her identification was subsequently discovered in January of 2026. Additionally, on July 7th, defendant ordered and subsequently Amazon delivered a burn cage to his home under the same fake name as part of his plan to incinerate evidence. And then right here is, moreover, defendant took horrifying measures to destroy and discard the victim's body. After placing her body in the blue inflatable pool to prevent her blood from spilling onto his garage floor. Yeah, but see, you got these items so far later. Like, where did you have her before that got there? And that's why I think it's like she was thawed out or something in the pool, maybe. The defendant used a chainsaw and perhaps other tools to cut off her limbs. Small blue plastic fragments were found embedded in the victim's remains, which were collected by the Los... How did that happen, though? The little fragments from the pool. I mean, did when she was cut, did the saw kind of go through her body and then on into the plastic and it sort of, commingled? That's about the only way that would happen, right? The fragments were analyzed by LAPD's Forensic Science Division. Maybe they say that here. An expert was able to make physical fit match from the blue fragments to the blue inflatable pool purchased by defendant in May of 2025. In order to distance himself from the victim, he amputated her left ring and pinky fingers because her ring finger contained a tattoo of his name. Well, there you go. Her fingers have not been recovered. Defendant then placed her head... Man, I mean, see, that's the thing. I mean, you're like moving her head around and stuff. Head and torso into the cadaver bag he purchased. He placed her limbs into a garbage bag, which he deposited into his front trunk, laying the cadaver bag on top. For several weeks, or possibly months, the defendant left the victim's body to decompose inside his Tesla. Wow, so there was no refrigerator, no freezer, no nothing. He lied to friends, business associates, and others who noticed the strong smell of decay in and around his home and vehicle. Before leaving on his concert tour at the end of July, he parked his Tesla on the street around the corner from his home. LAPD served a search warrant at defendant's home at 1368 Doheny Place on September 17, 2025, after the victim was identified by the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner on September 16th. Inside the garage, detectives discovered evidence consistent with the dismemberment of the victim's body in the inflatable pool, which contained multiple linear cuts. See, it did go through. Several biological samples, which tested positive for blood, were collected within the garage area. DNA analysis determined that various samples matched the victim's unique genetic profile. On December 19, 2025, the medical examiner ruled the victim's death homicide caused by 2 penetrating injuries to the torso. On January 17th, the victim's U.S. passport card was found by a Caltrans worker off SR 154 in Santa Barbara County. Let's see. Numerous text messages between the defendant and the victim evidencing their sexual relationship, pregnancy, abortion, and use of Plan B emergency contraception. Wow. Messages through March 2025 proved defendant continued to manipulate the victim as she messaged, "All we do is have sex and just hang out, man. I want more than that for myself." These messages were obtained from defendant's cloud data. Defendant's cellular activity and communication derived from the defendant's iPhone and Tesla, which demonstrate defendant's activities from April 22nd to April 24th, 2025, including a trip to Santa Barbara County in the middle of the night after the victim arrived at his Hollywood Hills home. So what was he? Did he keep her body out there or something? Surveillance video of the defendant. I mean, what's their theory on that? Yeah, these are all, that's the evidence. Okay, so the conclusion is This brief is filed to assist the court in understanding the scope and relevance of evidence the prosecution intends to present at the preliminary hearing. The prosecution has issued numerous subpoenas in preparation. Anyways, we just read it, so we know what it means. It's like, it's really, man. It's one of those cases that's really obvious. You just have to, depends if his attorneys is able to trick some sucker into believing something. Who asked about? I don't know. They just said business associates. All right, well, we'll just do the updates each day. Tomorrow we'll do another one. If you think there's a place out there that really has a deep dive into each day, let me know. I remember in the Delphi case, it's kind of the same thing. I don't think there's cameras in there, so there's just these people inside that take notes and put them out there. So send me an email. I'm sorry for my nose. It's kind of like plugged up. Or, what do you call it? Allergies. Yeah, well, I think they've already seen. Well, the judge saw. They showed crime scene photos. It sounds like. All right, well, we're going to switch over now to the other part with the updates on Angelica Brophy. There. All right, so our buddy, what was his name? What? Oh, I forgot. Boulder. That guy. He went out there again. Today. Didn't he have a warehouse where he was shooting his music videos? I don't know. They just said he was out in that county on that road, and that's where they found her ID, so I don't know what the deal is there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think in the McStay case, he kept their bodies. I don't know if you guys remember that one, but he killed them on the 4th, and they weren't buried till the 6th. So he has the guy in that case had a little storage unit that he shared with one of the victims, and that's where I thought maybe he put him. Yeah. Well, you guys, I mean, all of you guys know this case, right? Like, is there anybody in here that doesn't know the missing Angelica Brophy, the nurse out of Southern California, Oceanside area, who just kind of dropped her kid off at a day camp? I think her 12-year-old kid. She also has a 15-year-old kid. Then goes to a casino, and then apparently leaves the casino alone, then drives all the way up to a park, even though she had evening plans with a daughter. She drove up to a park and paid $10 for a parking pass, was seen going into there alone also, and then parks her car, and then goes back. What the heck? Hey, thank you, Chris O'Connell. Man, that's amazing. Jeez. Thank you. I guess you made up for Carl with the C disappearing. Thank you. That was really cool. Your battle that never happened. Oh, you haven't heard of this one? Yeah. Well, here, I'll show you this is what she looks like. So hold on. If you haven't seen her. So this is her right here. And, she has two kids. She's a nurse. She runs marathons and whatnot. So can hike and stuff. And, but then she was last seen, or one of her friends saw her on July 5th. And that is right here. So that's her right there. She looks totally different, but that is her. I mean, not when I say totally different, I mean like health-wise, etc. But I mean, that's her right there. And so the day before she went missing, she met up with this friend over here. And then she, again, then the following day, and thanks again up there to Chris O'Cuddle. I matched you matched your other. I know. I was like, okay, you did do that. That's hilarious. Anyways, thank you so much. I think it makes up for yesterday. Yeah, okay, so that's the deal. She has 2 kids, she's married, and then on the 5th, she met up with that friend. Then on the day she went missing, apparently she sent a message to her coworkers saying, hey, thanks for being friends. And they said, oh, it's kind of unusual, not unusual to do that. But then her explanation, the friend who was explaining it said, well, I mean, I'll have a problem and I'll do something and then I'll say thank you. But I mean, in this case, what's the thing that she's thanking you for? So if it's just out of the blue, that's sort of a red flag, just sort of out of the blue. Hey, thanks for being, in this case, right? So then she drops her kid off at work at a camp at 9:30 in the morning. And then she's seen leaving a casino that she was at, spending rewards points at 3:30. So where she was between the whole time, we don't know the answer to that. But she obviously was at the casino for a while because she used her rewards points there, probably was gambling, etc. And if you haven't seen it on a map, that is right here. And she works at a hospital. It's right over there, right? So right here is the hospital she works at. Then the casino is right there. And then at 3:40, it seems like the more updated information was that she leaves there alone. And then she drives up here to the park and then goes right through this sort of check-in station here. And drove up to here. You stop, you get out and you pay, and then you get a sticker put on your car. Now, today I ended up finding a picture of the sticker. I mean, there it is, 7/6/2026, $10. It looks like it's hard to make out the time, but apparently it was right around like 4:20. And the guy saw that she was alone, so then she drove this direction. I'll go up in the air now. You can see same area. Drove around, and then I think it's where the heck is that? Oh yeah. So this is the check-in spot, And then just up the street there, a hard right into here. And then would be driving around, up and around, I guess. Comes all the way around like this. And then, boom, made it right here to this parking spot. Right there, backed in. It looks kind of like the driver's side seat is back a little bit. Yeah, I'll definitely sleep better. I will. I was just I was like, man, what's happening? But anyways, the the seat was back a little bit. We have a picture of that too. So let me throw that up on the screen. Right here. So it kind of looks like this part's back, leaning back a little bit. Maybe. I mean, it just could be the angle and the wide angle lens that kind of has that look to it. But it's definitely back from that seat. But she also had just given her kid a ride to a camp in the morning. So maybe that seat was moved up, and then this one is normal. And also the inside the car originally was found a wallet or purse with a wallet with cash, her passport, and her cell phone was in the car. And then when the family got it, they looked at the phone and then they ended up giving it to police later, investigators. And then her cell phone is in the car, and her cell phone died, by the way, while she was at the casino, or it was turned off. I think she turned off her cell phone at the casino. So it was turned off at the casino, so earlier, that means 3:30 or before, and she never charged it again. If it had died, that seems unusual. Then when she came here, she backed in, and then her watch pinged over here somewhere. They just sort of said in this general area is where her watch pinged. So all she had with her after she left the car were her keys and the watch, and I don't know what else, but I would assume maybe a little backpack of some sort. I would just guess that. I don't think she was there to hike. And then she just hasn't been found yet. Nobody knows where she is. Now Boulder that goes out there, and it's one of my other theories. I mean, there's two theories. My main theory is that she was depressed, and maybe as a nurse she was able to acquire some medications, and then that day, last hurrah, gambling, maybe even said, hey God, if you make me win, I'll stay alive, but if not, you're letting me know that it's okay. And she didn't win. Then she goes out here, and she somewhere up in the mountains far away, because she had hours to walk, so they just haven't found her yet. That would be the main theory. But the theory also works for, I think it'd be very unlikely that some random person was up there. Okay, so you got to look at it like this. She made sure that she wasn't tracked going up to this parking place. So don't you think it would be strange that she doesn't want to be tracked up there, and then some person she doesn't know at all she meets up with? You see how that just doesn't make sense? Now, if she is meeting up with somebody, it's somebody she already knew was going to be up there because she turned off, her phone was turned off, she left the phone in her car, etc., right? So you got to look at it like that. That she planned not to be tracked. That means whoever she might meet is somebody that she knew. It's not like you're just... let me ask you guys this. What do you think the odds are that somebody would not want to be tracked, they go up and park their car, and then some random killer is there that then took her and went... so you got to look at, well, what was the reason she didn't want to be tracked? That's the answer to the question here. Yeah, we know, Davey. We've talked about all this. You keep, that's what I'm talking about. Jesus, you're crazy. Anyways, so it's possible that she made sure she wasn't tracked and she was going to meet up with somebody there. And then for some reason, she just took off with that person to, start a new life. Like, that just seems weird, though. Like, wouldn't you take the cash at least that you had in your purse? Wouldn't you take your purse or something? I don't know. I think the cleanest theory out of all of them is that she went there to take her life and went far enough away where they haven't found her yet. That's the cleanest theory that makes every single thing else in the theory work. Right? The one where somebody picks her up, it's kind of weird, right? Like, why'd you leave the phone in the car? Wouldn't you keep your phone? You could just replace the SIM card or something, or just keep it turned off until... wouldn't you have taken your passport, for God's sakes? Wouldn't you have taken your ID? You need those kind of things in the real world out there. So wouldn't you have taken those things? If you were just meeting up with somebody and going with them. You get what I'm saying? So like I said before, the cleanest theory is that she went up there, she just had enough. I actually think I wish, people would look down in this area over here, because it's kind of outside of this range, but then down here, and then believe it or not, somewhere down here you can look out and see her house. Her house is right there. So, this is right there, and then back out, and then you're right over the purple, looking down into the valley. Yeah, and that's the part that I forgot to say. When she got her ticket, she used a credit card, which is it could have also just been a breadcrumb, like, hey, this is where I'm at. People aren't going to check that for a few days. It's not like immediately your husband goes, hey, where was that? It doesn't work like that. So could have been a breadcrumb, just like, hey, I'm up. This is where it's going to be, but she'll obviously have a huge lead time. Man, I tell you what, though, without a challenge in here, we just go. But it's okay, because Chris O'Connell. Very cool. Let's see. She knew her car would eventually be found. Anyway. Yeah. And I think, use a debit card. I don't know if... Yeah, I mean, she could have just wasn't thinking at the time, for sure. And then even after she did it, she probably went, oh, crap. Who's going to check that? Like Phyllis was saying. All right, so here are the pictures from today out there that he sent. I guess he has a video, too.
I'm on Nate Harrison grade heading west.
Not the greatest.
This is the prairie area that I walked yesterday, the meadow. And if you walk in between these two...
Oh, yeah, let's see. So he's on, what do you call that? Grade, I think it's this one, right? Where's the name? Come on. Pop up. State Park Road. Wait, there it was. Nate Harrison grade. Isn't that what he called it? Let me see.
I'm on Nate Harrison grade heading west. This is the prairie.
Okay. So if he's on that, yeah, I guess you can sort of see that from on the road here. Maybe he did it from a higher up area. Somewhere up here, maybe back a little bit. I think he's talking about, well, no, it's right over there, so. No, it's up here. That's the prairie up there. All right, anyways, let's get back to that.
Area that I walked yesterday, the meadow. And if you walk in between these two hills, that will take you to Doan's Pond on the other side. That mountain is between us and Doan's Pond. This is the conference area here. Like I say, that's the area that I searched yesterday. It does get pretty steep after that. You know, I know there's trails up there, but it's pretty steep and runs into.
Oh, I think he's at the, right here. Maybe. Yeah, because there's the conference center. Right, so he's kind of up here. He made it. He's at this tower here. I think it's that right there is a fire tower. For some reason, it's not loading. Here it comes. There it is. Yeah, so maybe from up here, you could almost see that.
Private land. Either way, I believe this is the area that Gray wanted me to check out. So I'm checking these places.
Yeah, that's true too. Probably just didn't even think of it. Chris O'Connell.
With binoculars. I was already at the lookout tower looking for some action, and I have to say, I'm glad I see no buzzards out today.
Yeah, so he didn't see any buzzards. Here's the fire tower. Apparently, you're able to go up in that. Looks like just people out here. So that would be up in. This is looking out over my purple area. So what that's looking at, I bet it looks identical. Watch. So right there, looking out, just like that. Yep, see that? It's right there. See the little V thing right there? That's the spot. And so that's looking out over the purple area where I think she might be. Just a thought. Hey, look at Marty's Bar and Grill. He's doing a challenge, you guys. Who's going to do that one? Let's get one more in. Maybe that can help make up for one of the other days, too. We've got if we get 5 gifted memberships, he'll donate 20 coffees, basically. Thank you. Come on, freaks, we can do it. That's out there again. So this is out of that observatory, looking over. Yeah, so that's going to be down then, I would think. Let's see. He's looking out the other side, just like this. Well, there's one. We got Phyllis Watson. We need 4 more of those. Yeah, okay, that's exact. See, that's it right there. So that means the purple's a little bit on the right over there. Thank you, Haley, as in Haley's Comet. Okay, and then that's pan a little bit more. Yep, just like that. Oh yeah, that's so crazy. You guys want to see something just so crazy how accurate Google Earth is? Here, watch this. Just like that. Let me just show you this. See that? Now watch this. Look how wild this is. See this bush right here? And see that little indentation? Or whatever you want to call that? And then that little clearing back over there. Look at that. Here's the bush. Even has the little thing. And then there's the thing. I mean, that's just crazy how incredibly, like it doesn't change much. Look at that. Isn't that wild? Just like that. And then there it is. Well, there's 2. We need 3. 3 more to reach another cool goal, and maybe that'll help make up for some of the other days. All right. So here we go. And that's why I think Google Earth is so accurate that it's allowed us to find a bunch of stuff over the year. And then here's the cell tower. Look at all those. I'm not really sure what these are, but I know at the top there's cell. You can tell that's what it is. Watch. I'm sure those are also cell, but right at the top there. And then you can see the shadow of the cell tower right there. And I guess that's looking again back over at the purple area. See, that's the spot that I think, maybe going through this church area and then sort of wandering for a while, and then, I don't know, maybe finding a spot off of this road that's over here, Don't know. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I think the most likely one is she's by herself. She did something. And then the second one is that there is some person that maybe they have evidence of, I mean, they said that, he said that they said that the police feel like they're getting close to something, whatever the hell that means, Does that mean finding her, or does it mean close to solving? He said close to solving. Solving sounds different than finding, close to finding somebody. Yeah. I don't know. What do you guys think? I know this isn't as people don't seem to be as interested in this. I think it's interesting because it's kind of a puzzle. What does it all mean? She backs in her car in the middle of the parking lot. Then after maybe sitting there for a while, we don't know how long, she gets out of the car. We'd all love to know when the ping of her watch was, when it connected to the satellite. When was that? Thank you, Alley Cake. As in, I'll eat cake.
For Marty.
Whoa, thank you so much, Haley. And very generous, thank you. As in Haley's Comet. Well, there you go. You guys reached Marty's challenge. Where the heck Sebastian Rogers? Yeah. I don't spend a lot of time wondering. One of these days we'll hear something. There's some kind of a lawsuit. I never got that though from into debt from gambling. I don't know. We thought about the gambling angle, but I don't know. It seems like, I mean, maybe that was maybe it could have been something that caused marital problems, you know, that she gambled. And then she thought, well, if I win, then that means something, you know, something like that. Let's see. Never can be enough freaks. And thanks up, Marty. Really appreciate it. And Chris O'Connell, thank you for that amazing evening of support there. It really made a huge difference from the nights we've had. So hopefully it almost kind of makes up for, gosh, I don't know, at least a full day of one of the days. We've had a couple days that were almost what in golf I call an NSA. You ever play golf and you hit a ball and it goes like 10 feet? Well, my friend came up with the phrase NSA, or abbreviation NSA, which means non-significant advancement. So that's kind of what those other 2 days were. Well, last 2 days were non-significant advancements. Yeah, well, we'll see, Phyllis. Well, it's either one of the two. I think I'm like 70-30. Right? I think 70% chance that she went off and did, self-harm somewhere. But you can't really say for certain. Now it's kind of like, okay, she did use her card to check in. She's backed in, reclining, perhaps waiting for somebody to show up somewhere. But where was that person? I mean, do they have any information on a car that left the area? I mean, I don't know. Would the other guy hike in and they hiked out together to go camping for weeks? I don't know. It feels like they just haven't found her, but man, who knows? That's the thing, is why haven't they found her yet? With all the resources and dogs and... I mean, that's what not Marty. It was... I was trying to remember Jason Bourne's name. Yeah, he said something similar, like, would you change your mind? See, here's the thing: the facts, all the facts right now, put together, point to that she did something to herself. Of the facts that we know about, it's more likely that they point to that more than any other element. So she's backed in, she's sitting there. But see, I could look at that and think, okay, she's just contemplating. She backs in and she took another 30 minutes or so and contemplated and just sat there. Her phone's dead. I mean, why isn't she charging her phone right now? That's because she doesn't want to be contacted nor tracked. So she's sitting there and she's thinking. She doesn't want anybody but herself, doesn't want anybody to change her mind. Perhaps the gambling earlier in the day was one of those ultimatum mental tricks that you play. If I win, God wants me to live. If I don't, he doesn't. She didn't win, maybe. We don't know, right? She doesn't win. Then she drove up there, and she sat there and contemplated. And then at some point, She, with her keys and her wallet and perhaps a little bag of some sort, gets out of the car and heads off somewhere where we don't know where that is. But she has the capability of, she's run marathons. So, this park obviously extends. And once you get up here, I mean, hell, you could have got up on top here and walked for miles, and, you just kind of go to a spot like that and you're just kind of looking out over here right on top of this mountain or something. That's way out there, but she could do it. Like that time we've got right here, this red here is a hike she did in March 30th. And it was 4 miles. So if you straighten that out, you get over to here. If you can figure out a way to get up there. I'm not sure how to do that. There might be, like, over in this area, a way through. And you just kind of have to make your way to this road over here. Once you find the road, you can just wind around and then you're out of here. You're gone. And so let's say she got there at 4:20 but didn't start walking till 5. Let's just say that. 3-4 hours later, she's way over here. And you probably wouldn't want it to be dark, because who the hell wants to be scared, She just wants to probably look at maybe a sunset, And she's sitting up there watching the sunset over her home and take some medication and, That's just kind of how I picture this. Could be totally wrong, and I hope so even. I think the other 30% thing would be that she was waiting for somebody. They somehow got in there, and nobody has reported seeing that vehicle, and then she literally just left with them to do a whole new life situation, because she obviously didn't want to bring any of her stuff with her. The weird part about this case is if that is the case, that she took off, we aren't going to get to hear anything about anything. Once law enforcement finds her and they determine that she left on her own, she has the right and the ability to do that, and they aren't going to tell us a damn thing ever again. It'll be one of these statements. We want to thank everybody for your support, but in this time, we'd like privacy for the family. Thank you for trying, thank you for your help. That's what it's going to sound like. We've seen it a million times. Yeah, and I've said before, I think the family must know that there's, they probably knew that, she was either depressed or has some issues going on. They know this stuff. Those are things that must be in their minds, I would think. Yeah, one enchanted evening. One enchanted evening. Have they used dogs yet to look for her? Yeah, I remember I talked about Debbie Collier the other day. H-Doc. That was the weird one for me too, personally. That's when I just realized, what? I'm just when I figure something out, I got to stick with it regardless of what. I mean, it was hard though, That was a weird case, because I thought Debbie Collier went there and took her own life. But then one day I actually got a hold of the sheriff or whatever he was, the main detective guy. He was and he goes, yeah, we think there might be more to it, because we can't find the container that the fuel was put in. Obviously, if you went and set yourself on fire, you would have a container that had the fuel, and they couldn't find it. So then I had to come on my show and say, hey, you guys, you know what? It's starting to look like maybe somebody did do something, because he told me that they can't find the container. And then on the very show that I said that, I went through all the facts again, and I go, you know what? I think she did it to herself. Even despite what that guy said. And then I stuck with that the rest of the way, even though I would say, but, he did tell me that. And then right later they go, oh, guess what? We found the container. It was melted. Yeah, so that was crazy. Yeah, it's a weird case for sure. I don't know if a lot of you were around for that one, but it was pretty wild. Well, what do you think their theory is, Phyllis? The police have stopped searching the park. Okay, well, well, it could just be because she's not in the park anymore, and that she moved further. But it's interesting because the guy that was out there, he said, yeah, they're not searching there anymore. It doesn't look like anybody's there. He ran into somebody, one of the people close to the case out there, and they were saying, well, the police seem like they're on the right track, or something like that. They're close to solving it. So, God, maybe it is a Papini or Chuck and a Maddie, as Zozo would say. The Madison Bell case. What do you guys think? The police, obviously, by looking at her cell phone, maybe they're still able to track something on her watch, have figured something out. But they also kept looking there for days and days and days. So it must not be really solid information. Yeah, that was crazy. She bought like a poncho, remember that? And yeah, it just sort of, it was weird. I thought she was trying to do like carbon monoxide or something. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, so that's the thing. That's why it could be one of the other things. Or it's just that they've looked as far as they can go in the park. Because a lot of this other stuff is apparently private land. So they might not be able to just sort of walk over there. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, what do you think it is? I mean, what if her watch showed that she made it out to some other area? And then, I mean, somebody could have driven up one of these roads and picked her up. She just had to make it somewhere. And then they're out somewhere and nobody has a clue. But really, are you going to plan all that? I don't know. I mean, I know that my theory with her going gambling as a, ultimatum kind of thing to God or whatever, that's just a thought. There's no proof of that whatsoever. The proof is that her phone was turned off or died before, before she even left the casino. So wouldn't she have charged it on the way up to a place that you think you're going to go hiking, if you're actually there to go hiking, so you could have your phone on you when you hiked? But not only that, she didn't even take her phone. Because it was, was turned off and dead. But she obviously didn't want to be tracked to the park. So that does make you think that it's possible that she met somebody, was waiting for somebody, met somebody up there, and they got out, and they don't have surveillance cameras at the park. And, maybe it was after the park closed, because after the guy leaves for the evening, I think you can just put money in and go in, but you don't have to put money in. It's an honor system. So you could, in theory, at like 7 o'clock at night, she's hanging out there, or 6 even, the car could drive by here and this guy's home. He's not there anymore. So then you just drive to the park and then you pick her up and you leave, and the guy's not there to see you leave either. So it's definitely a thing, you know. But then you say, well, then why'd you leave your passport, your wallet, and all of those other things that you might need in the future just sitting in your car there? And then I guess you could argue then, oh, the guy once he showed up, he was a bad actor. And she met this guy online, let's say. He met a guy online, was going to meet her up there, start a whole new life. But he turns out he's a psycho and abducts her from the park. Wouldn't that be crazy if that's what actually happened right there? I know, right? Leave her kids and everything. But she waited till they were older a little bit, like 12 and 15. That's not like, oh, I need mommy. You know, they're older. Yeah, it gets dark at like 9. I was just thinking maybe she walked way up there for miles and for a sunset. You know, after walking way, it would take a few hours for her to walk. What was it? 2 hours to walk those 4 miles that one time. But I'm sure if she was committed to walking, she could go a hell of a lot further. Well, why would she be abducted by... So she was abducted by the person she was just going to meet there that she shouldn't be meeting, right? Because she didn't want her to be tracked. So she planned to meet somebody up there and got abducted by that person. Well, that's kind of what I just said a second ago. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, this lady is 44. It'd be kind of weird if she... Yeah, who knows, man? Really, really weird stuff. Crazy. I don't see anywhere... Oh, wait. So it does say that. That was earlier. I missed that.
So the search for the Oceanside nurse and mother of 2 who vanished more than 2 weeks ago has been put on pause by the Oceanside Police Department.
That was 4 hours ago. I didn't see this one yet.
After long days of searches in the park and in the waters of Palomar Mountain, law enforcement have pulled back. Volunteers, though, continue to search for Angelica Brophy. NBC7's Allison Ash is outside Oceanside Police Headquarters with a closer look, Allison, at the shift in the focus.
You know, that's right, Angela. What I'm going to tell you now... Yes, watch. I bet she says something like that. Watch.
Yeah, a spokesperson for
Almost. I don't know what her name was, the other one.
Oceanside PD says they have now reached the point where all available search and rescue resources have been utilized. Of course, they're still following up on all investigative leads, while Angelica Brophy's family refuses to lose hope that they'll find her.
If Angelica somehow hears this or sees this, we love you, Chin. We're here for you. You're not alone.
Chin is the nickname Angelica Brophy's 5 big brothers call the Kaiser emergency room nurse and mother of 2, whose disappearance has become a bizarre mystery. She was last seen July 6th, first at Harrah's Casino, then pulling into Palomar State Park. She locked her car and vanished into thin air. Nobody knows what happened, but there are a lot of theories circulating.
That's a rabbit hole. I mean,
Well, don't you think it's interesting that even her brother is saying it's a rabbit hole? That's who's talking right here. That means it's not, they just don't know. When they say rabbit hole, though, I don't see it as a rabbit hole, but they must have a lot more to be able to say rabbit hole.
Could be anything. It could be anything. She could be in need of rescue. She could be, abducted.
I asked if there was any chance
Abducted, he said.
Angelica Brophy might have done harm to herself.
Okay, let's see what he says to that. That's my theory.
Out here in the wilderness.
Not at all.
That said, Raphael...
He said there's no chance that she harmed herself out in the wilderness.
Fabregas says everything is on the table.
We're considering every possible outcome. Nothing is too incredible or too outlandish. We'll pursue everything.
Every tip
Okay,
is
but you just ruled out that though.
passed on to police, no matter how small. And the group of volunteers who want to join the search keeps growing. The fact that law enforcement is no longer joining the physical search doesn't change the determination of family, friends, and total strangers.
We're still encouraged. We're still looking. It may not be to the extent that we would ideally want to see, to the intensity that we ideally would want to see. But I'm not being critical at all of the efforts. It's been quite extensive.
Extensive, but so far.
Which part are you talking about? You're not alone.
Department.
After long days of search,
I want to listen to the brother again.
Investigate to lose hope that they'll find.
Somehow hears this or sees this. We love you, Chin. We're here for you. You're not alone.
Chin is the nickname Angelica Brophy's 5 big brothers call the Kaiser.
Yeah, what does that mean? Yeah, that's a good thing to point out there. You're not alone. And what? You're not alone in your whatever you're going through? That's usually when you say that. Hey, listen, you're not alone, okay? That means you're going through something. So if she's going through something where you need to say you're not alone, doesn't that mean that there could be self-harm? Right? Doesn't that mean that?
Her emergency room nurse and mother of 2, whose disappearance has become a bizarre mystery. She was last seen July 6th, first at Harrah's Casino, then pulling into Palomar State Park. She locked her car and vanished into thin air. Nobody knows what happened, but there are a lot of theories circulating.
That's a rabbit hole. I mean, it could be anything. It could be anything. She could be in need of rescue. She could be, abducted.
I asked if there was any chance Angelica Brophy might have done harm to herself out here in the wilderness.
Not at all.
He says not at all. But then he says, but nothing's too... Okay, well, what about that one? Yeah, you're not alone. See, that's what's interesting is it seems like if you say to somebody, hey, you're not alone, you know what's weird is that's almost what you always say to somebody who you don't want to take their own life. Right? You go, hey, listen, you're not alone, okay? We're here for you. That's what you would say to them. Now, maybe he's just saying, not at all, in case she just happened to be watching or something. I don't know. It's just... That's what makes sense to me. That's strange. Hey, Marty, thanks for the coffees. Very cool. Very kind of you there. All right, what do you think about that, though, Chris O'Connell? I mean, if you're going to say to somebody, "Hey, you're not alone," aren't those normally the people that there's some kind of a mental, something going on there when you say that to people? I wonder what ChatGPT would say to that. I probably won't get it right. What do people, let's see, why do people say to someone, you're not alone? What does that mean? What does that infer about the person they are talking to? I think that is what that is. I mean, I don't need ChatGPT. I just want to see what it is.
When someone says you're not alone, they usually mean other people care about you, understand what you're experiencing, or have gone through something similar.
Right.
It often implies that the speaker believes the person may be feeling emotionally isolated or unsupported, overwhelmed by a difficult situation, misunderstood, ashamed, or afraid to talk about something, or as though they must handle everything by themselves.
There you go. I mean, that's just absolutely exactly what we're all thinking right there. So, hey, good call up there, H-Doc, for pointing that out. I would have missed it. I was, like, reading comments. Yeah, it could be that. The gambling issues. Maybe she lost a bunch that day and felt embarrassed, but then I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't think that. That would but see that all implies that she's not alive, and I think that there's a good chance that is what happened, that she's not alive. She took her own life. I think it's though. I mean, I think it's like 30% chance though that she left with somebody. But I think it's something more than the gambling thing. You're not alone. I think it's more like something to just. I mean, when you look at that picture, the last one from the day before, she seems different. A little heavier, kind of. Looks a little bit more. I don't know. Just in that one little shot, her face looks different. So. I wonder if there was something else. But maybe, it says right here, ashamed or afraid to talk about something, the gambling. And maybe she has spent more money than she should have. And maybe, I mean, it's very possible that that's the whole thing, that she was spending this money. And then she thought, okay, I got my rewards points if I can make, and that was causing problems at home. And then she thought, man, if I can just win back this, God's saying, I'm with you, and then, but she didn't win. So then she went up there and did something. That would be pretty interesting if that is how it turned out. I don't know what the reason is for her doing, if she did something to herself. I don't know what the reason is because we don't get that information. But we know that she didn't want to be tracked to the park. Nor did she want to be tracked after she got out of her car. You see? So that's like, she didn't, okay, not only that, she didn't want to be tracked from the hotel to where she ended up at the park. And then even there, she didn't want to be tracked after she left her car. So I think, just that information alone, it's sort of like that's what she's doing. And then she had other plans apparently that evening with a daughter, but maybe something, like I just said, when she went gambling, her ultimatum with God or whatever fell through. So she didn't care about her plans anymore, and then that's what she went and did. And maybe she walked many more miles away than people think. Yeah, sorry to hear that, Lisa. That's going to suck. Yeah, I mean, you look at, where's the, I think she looks really good in this picture right here. She looks healthy and just, that looks like that probably is somewhat recent. And then you look at like this one, which is just now. I mean, that's like a totally, looks like she's been depressed about something. Eating, getting bigger. Like I think she weighs. I mean, if I was just gonna guess, not to. I mean, is that something you can't talk about? I would think she probably weighs like 15 or 20 pounds more in this picture than this one. And I don't really know the difference in time, but I'm just trying to look at that as some sort of a, is that what's happening? Something is going on where she's just not feeling good about herself, right? Yeah. Yeah, it could be that she was yucking it up 2 minutes later, and this is just that one still shot that didn't look great. Yeah, that's what I was saying peacefully. Like if she won, she would have gone home. And everything would have been okay. Yeah. All right. Well, sounds like the police called off the search. Let's keep listening to this, though.
Said Rafael Fabregas says everything is on the table.
We're considering every possible outcome. Nothing is too incredible or too outlandish.
Except that she could have taken her own life.
We'll pursue everything.
Every tip is passed on to police, no matter how small, and the group of volunteers who want to join the search keeps growing. The fact that law enforcement is no longer joining the physical search doesn't change the determination of family, friends, and total strangers.
We're still encouraged. We're still looking. It may not be to the extent that we would ideally want to see, to the intensity that we ideally would want to see, but I'm not being critical at all of the efforts. It's been quite extensive.
Extensive, but so far, the searchers haven't found a trace of Angelica Brophy.
It is frustrating, but we're still determined. We know she's out there.
Oceanside police say they will be coordinating with the sheriff's
Now she's out there. You mean at the park or just out there in the world?
Department and the California State Parks personnel this week to determine the best steps that they can all use together to move forward. They say they remain committed to supporting Brophy's family during this entire process. Reporting live from Oceanside, Allison Ash, NBC7.
Yeah, it's just got to be so hard on those family members. Allison, thank you. Appreciate the update.
Yeah. Well, there you go. There you have it. All right. Well, I think that's going to kind of do it for tonight. I don't really have much more to go. Yeah, Scott, I was thinking the same thing. Chris O'Connell was was there something going on with the marriage? Just not happy. They know something. And I think that might be why, I don't think the husband has anything to do with, physically what's going on, but, maybe they just weren't getting along or something more recently. Who the hell knows? We're just speculating based on what we see, but it seems like her friends and everybody else must know something. They must have a feeling and how, different ways she was acting. Something like that. But I want to say thank you to Allie Cake, then Lisa Valenzuela, then Haley, then look at that, Chris O'Connell came in and gifted 5, right? Then we had Sunny Ray gifted some gems. I think that's I'm not sure what that means, but and then Haley gifted 1, and then Sunny Ray did 100 gems. Then we had Haley gifted 5. And then I think this is at the point where... No, this is already... Chris O'Connell said, I'll match anybody who sends in a super chat or whatever during that time. For an hour. And then that's where Carl with the C was sitting around. And he was like, hey, is that any limit? And then he just disappeared. Nobody knows what happened. And then we had, then Chris O'Connell gifted 5. I mean, Carl with the C isn't required to do anything. It sounded like he was getting ready to go, So we had Haley gifted 5, and then Chris O'Connell gifted 5 to match. Then Jim Lawn, then Paul Marino, then Horse Teeth, Cow Teeth. Then Chris O'Connell gifted 1, then South Texas guy, and then Chris O'Connell, Allie Cake, Chris O'Connell. She's matching all the ones above there. And then Chris O'Connell again, then Allie Cake, then Lisa Valenzuela, then Chris O'Connell, then Haley, and they gifted 1, then Chris O'Connell gifted 1, then I gifted 1, and then she gifted 1. Chris O'Connell did. Then Jim Long gifted one, and then Chris O'Connell gifted one, and then Honey Bee Fly gifted one, and then Chris O'Connell gifted one. Then Haley, very generous, gifted 10. Then Chris O'Connell gifted 10. Then Haley gifted one. Then Michelle H, 36 months. Thanks for that. And then Chris O'Connell matched Haley again. Then we had Michelle H, then Chris O'Connell, then Honeybee Fly, then Chris O'Connell matching that one. Then Phyllis Watson. This is right near the end. It was going to go to 7:30. This is 7:26. Phyllis Watson. I'm doing the play-by-play. And out of the gate, it looks like Phyllis Watson with at 7:26 gifted 5. Then right after that, we had Alley Cake gifted 1, and then Chris O'Connell gifted 5, and then Chris O'Connell gifted 1 to match Alley Cake. And then Honeybee Fly was a member for 3 months. Thank you. And then we had Chris O'Connell gift 5. And then Jim Lawn gifted 1. Chris O'Connell again. Then Phyllis Watson gifted 10. And then Chris O'Connell gifted 20. Are you here, Chris O'Connell? You're just so kind. Thank you so much. Gifted 20, and then Phyllis Watson gifted 1, then Haley gifted 1, then Alley Cake gifted 1, then Haley gifted 5, and then I think there was another, oh wait, I missed these right here. Okay. So Phyllis Watson gifted 10, then Chris O'Connell gifted 20, then Roger Smith gifted 5, then Wild Bill Wassman gifted 5, then Chris O'Connell matched that one, and then Chris O'Connell gifted 20, then again, so she gifted 20 again. Then Phyllis Watson, Haley, Alley Cake, and then Haley gifted 5. So thank you. Special thanks to Chris O'Connell and Haley in there. We're really kind of you guys. Thank you so much. And everybody else who helped out. Very cool. Guys, nailed it. And then also we have, special thanks to Marty, don't want to forget that, for his coffees on the side over there. Very generous. And then we also had, don't want to forget, we had a Venmo for 20 from Jessica. Jessica. We have another Jessica in there. Anyways, I really appreciate you guys. That was amazing. It made up for, like, literally, I don't know, maybe we can spread out some of that over 2 days prior and maybe pretend that we made the goal on a couple of those. We'll have to see. I don't know what the total number will be, but yeah, should be able to spread some of that out. Although yesterday was so low that, like, you'd have to bring in like $200 and something to make the goal from that day out of this one. But it might work. We'll have to see. Anyways, thank you guys so much for all that support and everything. Should I do a poll on here really quick? Let's see. I guess that's just kind of the two things that you have here. Well, you have to say thanks to me, Haley. Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to do, we'll definitely keep up to date on the David. I know I haven't been one of the ones covering it this whole time, but I've got a lot of stuff to do. Well, thank you. You made it. You made it great, though, Chris O'Connell. It was like, oh my God, finally we had a great day. We started the month pretty well. We had a couple good days during the preliminary hearing, and then it just went. So what's it looking like there? She went there alone, not meeting anyone. Okay. I think that's a good way to... Then after that, you just sort of figure out, what happened. But then the next part, met someone there. What's funny is I think I have it at 70-30, and that's just where we're at. 71-29. Isn't that crazy? That's wild. Yeah, I don't think so. I'm not going to add that one. That doesn't make sense to me. You know why it doesn't make sense to me? Because then you'd have to say that on a day that she intended to not be tracked there, some random person followed her there. That doesn't make sense. That's like too much to ask. That's like in the Delphi case, a catfisher had Abby and Libby go to the park, and then when they got there, the catfishing person wasn't there, but another killer was. That's what we're supposed to believe in the case. I think there's a connection there. This one, to say that she went through she turned off her phone. Even when she left her car, she left the phone in the car and had almost no way to track her at all until after the fact. You're going to say that somebody followed her up there? Man, that's just like, geez, that's very unlikely. And then they didn't even take her money out of her car? Not saying it's impossible, but I just don't think that that's what happened. Yeah, it's 67-33 now, though. Now that the trolls heard about it, they go, ooh, yeah, we can't let Greg be accurate. So let's hurry up, everybody. Hurry up. Everybody put met someone really quick. Hurry up. Good night, Chris O'Connell. Anyways, thank you guys. I really appreciate it. Love you all. Sorry I get frustrated some nights because it's just like, man, I'd love it to be able to keep everything going all these years, but we'll just have to. I mean, right now there's no cases that are out that are like really, make use of all of my skills. This is a good one because it's out there mapping and stuff like that. That's what I do, but yeah. So I will end the poll. 67-33. All right, guys. Thank you so much. We'll see you tomorrow. Who the heck knows what tomorrow will bring? But thanks again. Really appreciate it. Chris O'Connell, thanks so much for all that. That was amazing. And where were you, Carl with a C, man? Where were you? It could have been a legendary. Anyways, that was pretty funny. So they can suck the life out of someone. Yeah, I know. That's exactly right. That's what they've done. Suck the life. It's just unbelievable. Anyways, thanks everybody. See you tomorrow. And as I always say, until next time, be safe out there. you for watching Gray Hughes Investigates on YouTube, where we cover true crime using logic, reason, and common sense. Something not very common anymore. Thank you very much for watching. And until next time, be safe out there.
Evil can never be dead enough.
And some of you, you make shit up.